Okay, council, I've just unmuted everyone and we are live. Let me put up the flag. Mayor, we are ready.
Thank you. I'll call this meeting to order. Councilman Joe Leet will.
No, first.
Yes, Councilman Joe Leet will recite the Pledge of Allegiance for us.
Thank you, Mayor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Jamie, will you do the roll call, please?
Councilman Jeff Capel.
Here.
Councilman Joe Leet.
Here.
Councilwoman Katie Schneider.
Here.
Councilwoman Nikki Yazbek-Schweeder.
Here.
Councilman Leeser Wonka.
Here.
Vice Mayor Pramod Javeri.
Here.
Mayor Mark Serkin.
Here.
7 present.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept tonight's agenda?
So move.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve the minutes of March 12th, 2020.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I would like a motion to accept the meetings of the work session of April 9th, 2020.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to move to communications. Communications to council, Jamie Eifert.
There are none tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. Are there any reports from outside agencies? None, Jamie? Okay, thank you.
None tonight.
The mayor's report for March of 2020 will be entered into the public record. Do I have a motion to accept the financial report for March 2020?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to accept the annual report for 2019.
So move.
Second, anyone? Second? All in
Second.
favor?
Second.
Aye.
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 Annual report was fantastic. I keep it in my truck and it's got more information about every department and every statistic that you could ever want. And I'm sure we have some extra available at the municipal building if anybody would be interested in getting a copy. And I believe there's a copy online, if I am not incorrect, Kelly.
Yeah,
Mayor,
nice
we
job.
will be
Nice job.
posting it tomorrow.
Great.
Thanks
Nice
so
job.
much.
Nice job, Kelly. Tell Rachel that also.
Will
Yeah,
do.
It is wonderful. Hearings from citizens are all posted on blueash.com. As for if anybody doesn't know, all our meetings are recorded for the last few years, and they are also available 24/7 on blueash.com. We're going to move to committee reports. I'm going to turn this over to Councilman Zerwanka, Finance and Administration.
Jamie, please read resolution number 2020-18 by title only.
Authorizing the adoption of an alternative method of apportioning the local government fund.
Move to adopt resolution number 2020-18. Second. Any discussion? Seeing none. Jamie, please call the roll.
Councilman Capel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javeri.
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Leet.
Yes.
Councilwoman Yazbek-Schweeder.
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka.
Yes.
Mayor Serkin.
Yes.
7 yeses.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Next committee is Planning and Zoning, Vice Mayor Pramod Javeri, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a motion to set motion sitting a public hearing for 7:05 p.m. on Thursday, May 14, 2020, to consider a final development plan for a new office building and a site development in Summit Park subdivision. Any questions?
You
Or
need a
do we
second.
have any question, or do we just
We need a
Second the
second
motion.
for that.
I'll
second?
second.
Thank you.
Do we need to call a roll call, or we need to discuss this?
Just a voice vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Jimmy, could you read the resolution 2020-19 by title only?
Adopting the City of Blue Ash Downtown Strategy Plan.
Move to adopt the resolution 2020-19. Any discussion? Call the roll call. Jimmy?
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilman Leet,
Yes.
Councilwoman Yazbek Schweeder,
Yes.
Councilman Capell,
Yes.
Mayor Serkin.
Yes.
Okay.
7 yeses.
Any discussion? No discussion. Please,
Didn't we just pass it?
We just passed it.
we just passed it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's all, Mayor.
Thank you very much. We have two presentations tonight that actually refer to every one of the hearings from citizens, the letters that we received, with the exception of one, which was a legal question that the city answered directly to the resident. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to David and Andy Knight from NKSK to talk about the town square initial presentation.
So, good evening, everyone. As I hand this over to Andy McKnight, let me introduce him real quick, and then give you a very brief overview of what he's about to say. The old rule, tell him what you're going to say it, and then tell them what they just said, right? So Andy is with MKSK. By way of introduction, MKSK has been a firm that we've used for a number of years for a lot of park design and planning work. They did a lot of the work at Summit Park as well as other items. As council is aware, the last few months, Brian Cruz, Gordon Perry, and myself, along with Andy McKnight and Clete Benkins, who many of you may know from years and years of working with us, have decided to retire from MKSK. Have met a number of times and looked at how do we refresh Town Square. Town Square is the name of the park in the downtown area where the amphitheater is and the popular Friday night concerts so on. So we ultimately came up with 3 options. Andy will talk about those, but I just want to give you a quick preview. Option A, we simply took the park as it is today. We simply refreshed everything in place. We didn't really move anything, maybe tweaked a couple amenities, but essentially we said this would be the least intrusive, least amount of improvements to the park, probably the least expensive, and you will see some of the aspects of that plan, but basically we renovated the park in place. Option B, we assumed all the same amenities in place, but said if we were starting from scratch, where would we put them? And so after a number of iterations, we moved everything a little bit better to what we believe enhance the function of them, as well as increase the amenities that are in there. Option C is a bit of a wild card. So when you see that, I don't want you to get too taken aback by it. But as you know, council has expressed a desire to keep the library downtown. So we simply took the dimensions that the library indicated to us and put it on the park to see if it would even fit and whether you had any discussion. It has no due diligence completed on it, meaning we don't know whether there's sufficient parking in the area. I suspect there isn't, and we would need to do a garage. We don't know whether the loading and unloading for the library would work. We don't even know the library's needs specifically because we didn't want to spend any time with them until at least showing you a very general option. So as I hand this over to Andy, I do want to say that, from a staff perspective, I think Brian Gordon, I would say option B probably represents today the best option for us because everything functions a little better. It keeps all the same concept. We just move the squares around a little bit. It enhances the amenities. And most importantly, it kind of opens the park up and interacts with the surrounding community a little bit better than its current orientation, which is a little bit tucked away and sometimes turns back on them. So that's the Cliff Notes version of what you're about to hear. And I will allow Andy to get into details on that. So Andy, welcome this evening, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, David, and good evening, council members. As David had mentioned, we are at a concept level right now. So these are some ideas to test feasibility and begin the conversation. There's plenty of other meetings and design iterations. But what we have today is the culmination of several weeks of exploring some ideas. And we're at a point now where we want to share some of those ideas with you. So Kelly, I'm assuming you are advancing slides. Go to the next one. So I'm sure everybody's very familiar with the site. Go back to the aerial. Sorry, Kelly. What's outlined in red is the area that we studied. It is roughly about 3 acres. The parking lot was in play for a little bit, but we left that out of the study area. And a few of the things to highlight here that we were really interested in fixing and addressing is, one, over the course of time, as things evolved and elements were added to the space, there's some lack of cohesion within the space. Views across are blocked by certain things, walking paths and things like that. There's also a large paved area that's very hot when it's in the summer. And when it's not used for a concert, it's kind of an open, empty plaza. There's terracing there that has limited usability. There's also the memorial, the Veterans Memorial that's there. That's a very important component to the site. It's got a hedgerow that goes around it right now that kind of blocks it from the site and blocks some views into it. So what we wanted to do is to explore some opportunities. So Kelly, if you'll advance a slide. And we developed 3 concepts. These are just a couple of sneak peeks of what you'll see. We've got some renderings to give everybody a visual of what we've been exploring. Concept A is to refresh, basically taking the framework and the structures that are there and improving some visibility, improving some safety elements, and just giving the park a refreshment there. Concept B is a revised concept where we take a look at repositioning some of the items, maybe making a softer landscape, more usable area. We've got some new residents at the 4900 that this is a space, this is their outdoor space, and especially, with social distancing now and getting outside is becoming even more vital within our communities. This is something that we want to be a resource, not only for them, but for the walkable community that's in the area, in addition to ceremonies and concerts. And then, as David was mentioning, concept C was more of a feasibility test to see what a 10,000 square foot library branch might look like on the site and how the site might embrace that and work together with it. So let's jump into concept A. You can advance one more slide, Kelly. Thank you. A little bit of a bird's eye. I've got a diagram that will follow this that will show you the different parts and pieces a bit more clearly. But you can begin to see in that large paver area that's existing today, peeling some of that pavement out and replacing it with lawn. Just number one, that helps to reduce the heat island effect. It makes it more park-like for daily activities, even for large or smaller events that happen there. And we've got plenty. You all are well aware of the Summit Park lawn area and how usable that is when there's a concert going on. I actually have worked with Cleat on the development of a lot of that park, so I'm familiar with it as well. The stage right now, at the edge of the stage, there's about a 4-foot drop, and there's a chain at the edge of it too, which is a little bit of a trip hazard since the stage is open to people. So one of the things we're looking at is installing a set of stairs on the edge of that stage so that people can traverse that a little more easily and have it meet certain code requirements. Also, the memorial you'll see in this this rendering, where we've removed the hedges and allowed for views from within the space 360 degrees, and put a set of stairs that kind of traverse that that grade change from the memorial down to the lower plaza area. And then you'll also see that we've removed the terracing that is currently there in the bottom left-hand corner to create more usable space. Maybe that's a dog park area. So anyway, those are kind of the highlights with this one. I'll go through a couple of views. I think next is the next slide, Kelly, is the diagram. So you can see by and large, all the pieces that you're familiar with are still there, with the difference, the major difference here being that performance lawn and the event lawn. One of the other things, Kelly, advance one more slide. You can see two different things in this rendering. One is the visibility of this memorial and the access to it now. There is a slope that as the Hunt Road moves north and south, there's a slope along that road. So this allows us to integrate stairs into that slope, space where people can sit, also a place where people can access the memorial. You'll see in the background there where we've begun recommending removing some of the walls within the existing pavilion structure or the stage covering to allow more views. Right now it is basically an opaque wall that kind of blocks views north and south. So exploring the idea of removing walls, keeping the structural integrity of the space as well, but allowing this to be a pavilion that could be used for not just concerts, on summer evenings, but also something that could be rentable, where tables could be put underneath, and it's a covered space. Next slide, Kelly.
Can you use your arrow to for the specific space that you're mentioning, that we can visualize a little bit more?
Yes, Kelly's got the.
Thank you.
Kelly's got the cursor, so I'll kind of have to direct her, and hopefully she's able to follow along with me. But right in the middle of the screen here, you're looking from the memorial space south to the stage pavilion structure. You can see there where we've removed the walls, and it really begins to open up that structure as well. Keep in mind, this is just at a conceptual level. There would obviously need to be lots of studies, but either way, you get an idea of what it looks like to open up and breathe a little bit within the space. Next slide. And then this is a view looking to the north along the kind of the retail zone that's there, that runs to the west of the site. Back in the distance, you can see the stage now and how open it is, and then the lawn that's in the foreground of that.
Hey guys, if everybody but Andy could mute themselves, it would make the sound a whole lot better.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of feedback. So I think somebody's got speakers on. Okay, let's advance one more. And there'll be plenty of time for questions. We can go back and revisit any of these if anybody has questions. So concept B was a revised version. This is really kind of looking at everything but the parking lot. Actually, we did show some improvements to the parking lot in terms of shade and landscape, but really looking at all the parts and pieces, and if there was a way that we could restructure this so it, one, had a cohesive design, but then also kind of responded to some of the needs and desires of what David and Brian and Gordon have been hearing, and maybe some of you all. So what you can see right in the middle of the drawing is a new stage and pavilion. This will be double-sided so that it could face the memorial area, which is just to the north, to the right of the screen. It could also be used for a performance lawn, so you could continue to have your concerts and large events that are there. It also is adjacent to a new restroom facility. The existing restroom facility is aged a little bit. And what we're exploring here is providing restrooms immediately adjacent to the stage and pavilion. Could also serve as a green room for performances that are preparing to go on. It could also be used as the staging area for the memorial services that might be there also. To the north, or to the top of the screen, sorry, you see the Grove. What we want to do there is provide a space that the retail stretches there, what we're calling the promenade, could spill out into. And we're calling that the Grove, where we may have some string lights up above in the canopy of the trees. We've got some movable furniture. So it really becomes a space where people can grab their food, and if they don't want to eat out in the cafe areas of those restaurants, they can bring it out into the space and enjoy it within the park. A couple of other items to note here before we move on. We've got a play area there as well. It's not as large as the play areas at Summit Park, but it doesn't need to be because this is a smaller scale park, and this is an area where children can kind of play in the background. And we've got a rendering of what that could possibly look like. We've also got a dog park area that's in the bottom left-hand corner. Thinking in concepts, we're exploring that as a program element, would be fenced in and contained like most urban dog parks. Next slide, Kelly. So this is the plan view of how those pieces are arranged. So what we'd like to do along the top of the screen, we were showing a promenade there, and really kind of create this address for the various businesses that are along there, an opportunity for them to put, and they do currently put their tables and have fencing around them, but let's play that up a little bit more and make that promenade a thing that's continuous from end to end. And it's an area where you can, stand and determine where you want to go on the park, your destination. You see the Great Lawn there to the left. And then in the middle is where you kind of have these activity zones with the Grove and the pavilion and stage. All right, next slide. Let's see a couple of views of what some of these areas might look like. This would be the dog park that I was just showing you. It's in the view behind you. So you standing in the dog park area, kind of looking towards the north. Right now, the pavilion we're showing is this kind of folded sort of origami piece. It could be a number of different things. That's a whole nother study in and of itself. But what we wanted to do is put something there to show you what the kind of presence that might have, but also the transparency that would have as well. You could do some lights underneath it that begin to shine and make the underside glow at night, different colors, things like that. A lot of fun things. There's also the large performance lawn that's there to the left. So you could imagine not only people putting their chairs for an event there, but also a game of pickup frisbee or football, or just laying out and sunbathing during the day. Just to the right of the stage, we're showing the restaurant building. I think we want to have a lot of the components that the existing building has now, but allow it to be maybe a little bit more flexible. So we've got storage, we'll have family restrooms that are in there, and possibly some concessions as well for events that are going on. Next slide, please. It's just a little bit looking a little closer. Again, there is that grade change that's there between the north and south end. So we'll need to deal with that. We've got some stairs that lend itself to kind of a nice park gesture, but it also creates that vertical separation between the talent and the audience when there is an event going on. So we've got that working for us. You can see to the right, again, a placeholder concept drawing for what the restroom might look like. Next slide. Here's a view from the south looking towards the north. You can see the performance lawn to the right. But this would be an idea of the promenade. Right now, there are a series of walls and planting beds that kind of break this continuity up. And what we're proposing is that we break those walls down, create some steps so that it's more porous along that area. And it's not you know, a narrow set of steps that get you from the space down below up to the space above, but you can walk back and forth. You can sit on the edge of the steps. There's a lot of opportunity here. Add some green to the space in terms of vertical tree canopy. Next slide, please. When I was mentioning the Grove a little bit earlier, you can see to the left over there where the stage is. In the background is the performance lawn, the kind of the green plains right there. So it gives you an idea of where this is in relationship to that. Behind us would be the promenade. And so this would be an area where we would have some movable chairs that we would recommend here. There's several options out on the market that are inexpensive. I know sometimes the fear is that some of these will walk away. And what we've done in a lot of instances is take like the Bryant Park example in New York City and use those folding chairs. A company called Firmob makes them. They're very cheap and they're easily replaceable, but they're very light and easy to move around. So you can kind of create your own spaces within this area, which is nice to have that flexibility. Or you can fold them up and take them away, have a big long table and have a fundraiser within this area if you want to. Okay, next slide, please. I mentioned the playground area, again, a placeholder now, but instead of putting a catalog play equipment piece in here, what we were suggesting is that it becomes a little bit more adventure play. Again, this is nestled right between where the promenade is, where people may be eating. So you've got that convenience. It's also next to the performance lawn. So there's some convenience there for children to be playing in this area and parents to be able to have their eyes on them. Third concept, concept C, which is we're calling this the Library Commons. Again, this was a feasibility test. Basically took about 10,000 square feet, which is similar to what the existing branch library is that's close by. Next slide, go ahead, Kelly. And we placed this in the northeast corner of the site. So it's got some good prominence here. It's adjacent to the existing parking lot. But we don't have space on here to add additional parking. So that might be one fallback from this concept. In this one, what we did was the memorial space, still in its same location, but we changed the geometry of it. So it's more layered, still with the ability to have ceremonies within that, but also use the performance lawn as well for kind of spillover space. And then the stage in this concept is pushed into in the corner of the site. It could be used as a pavilion, but this is more one-sided in this instance, where we've got trees in the background. Still have the playground as well. So the still exploring the promenade idea in this concept also. Next slide. You can see all the components, how those are laid out. Next slide. And just a couple of views. You know, we didn't want to play architect too much, so don't get too caught up in the design of the library. It's just a placeholder. But you can see the performance line there in the background. Next slide. And then its relationship to the existing parking lot. And next slide. So in this one, what we were suggesting is that there may be an overhead canopy that extends out from the existing restroom. So that's where this view is from, kind of looking towards the stage back in the southeast corner of the site. The library would be off to your left, and then you can see just to the left there, the memorial. Okay, next slide. So those are the three options. We have put a dollar figure to these. Again, it's at a concept level. So these are rough numbers. Kelly, if you want to advance to the next slide, it'll kind of break those down for you. So concept A, we're looking at a range between roughly 2 million to almost 3.25 for those renovations. That includes renovations to the pavilion as well. And restroom building. Second concept we were looking at, which is kind of the preferred version, it seems to fit well all the anticipations of how this park wants to be used. We're looking at a range between 5 to 7 million there. And then the library improvement, which does not include the budget for a new library or any parking facilities that are associated with it. We're looking at a range between 3.8 and 5.5 million. So at this point in time, if anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Yeah, before we do that, I think the best thing to do in this scenario, like we did the last meeting, we'll have the mayor go around and give everyone an opportunity to make a comment, so it's not a free-for-all. But I just want to shape the expectation of what we're looking for tonight. Certainly, no approval on concept A, B, or C, where you want us to go. I think this is something that you need to spend a little bit of time thinking about and looking at and what have you. As I said before, we think, something closer to B makes the most sense. As Andy said, it represents a lot more enhancement of the amenities and better programming and flexibility, and the stage, for instance, being double-sided so we can do Memorial Day events out the one side and then big concerts out the other side, and a number of those improvements. But none of these even are written in stone. If there's some other further tweaks or ideas or thoughts that you have tonight or in the future, we can certainly look at them, look at the pros and cons of them. We would also envision from a staff standpoint that once council thinks they kind of like a direction, then we would probably, in the past, we would probably do a series of open houses and things like that. Now I say in the past because I don't know how well with today's environment that would be, but we would typically have probably put some poster boards up at the rec center, ask people for some comments and feedback, and perhaps even have some open houses in council, in addition to just kind of generally putting things out there. So we'll have to think about how we want to do that, but there is, to stress the council, there is no time frame for us. Aside from the natural question of what's the economy going to be and what's the impact on our budget over the next year and what have you, even without that, we probably would have spent this summer refining this some more, this fall starting to feel comfortable about for sure what direction we're going to go, and then next year starting to put together design plans and bidding it out and what have you. It's easy to envision that being pushed out a little further until we get our legs under us with this pandemic. That's just a long way of me saying, nothing here tonight should anyone take away from and say, oh, we are doing this or not doing that. Tonight really is the start of, here's some concepts, here's some direction we think you ought to go. I think all three of them are a wonderful improvement no matter where we go. As we said, something closer to B makes some sense. Part of that is because we don't have a whole lot of data or input from the library. But look for some comments back from you tonight, think about it, and then we would anticipate probably over the next couple of meetings starting to see what direction we want to head towards, and then starting to sharpen our efforts on one or two of the preferred scenarios. So hopefully that helps set the stage for everyone as the mayor goes around the room and asks for everyone's input.
Okay, I'm just doing this in random order, so don't read anything into it. Lee, so why don't you start off?
Did you say me?
Yes, I'm sorry, Lee, yeah.
I applaud MKSK on their designs. They really did think outside the box on this, because the property there, it's a definite challenge to work with due to the topography from upper to lower scale as far as the land goes, and also working with the retail on the one edge of it. Kind of similar to David's comments, I do like B probably the best. It really breathes and it brings some new amenities and updates to the property. If money becomes a challenge for whatever reason, yes, A looks good too. Plan C, I think you're starting to pinch it a bit, a little too tight. I'd like to see the property breathe rather than wedge the library in there. And that's kind of problematic when we already have parking challenges already. Overall, those are my comments at this point in time, but nice designs. I applaud that. Nice job, Andy.
Thank you. Katie, this is your backyard. Why don't you have any comments?
Yeah, so I think option A alone opens it up so much with a lot more transparency. And option B, taking that a step further, I really like the idea of the flexibility in every single space being able to use it in more than one way. Even including the stairs in that, where it's not just for the purpose of getting from point A to point B. So that's really appealing. I had some trouble, and I know this is concept, with the large changes in elevation. It was a little difficult to really understand where some of that came into play, or how that those changes were made throughout the whole property. Because I know there's multiple points within the area now where you've got kind of terracing and stairs and all that. But beyond that, you know, as much green space, I think, as we can build into that makes the space just so much more welcoming and appealing. So to Lee's point, I also think that trying to kind of cram the library in there takes away from the usability of that outdoor space, the play space. So at the moment, I would kind of personally be shying away from that, but it's a really interesting concept.
Thanks, Katie. Joe?
I'm all over concept B. I really am. I've been asking for a grass field down there forever. I just think that's the best. My only question with B is that with the promenade, that's where the grass is at now, and back there by the pizza place on that little wall. That's the way that's set up. That's going to be in the sun now, where it used to be in the shade. If you put the promenade in as where the concept's at, you know. But other than that, and the question, where would the soldiers be in concept B? I didn't see that anywhere. But I'm all over that. I just think that's just the neatest design ever. I really, really do. Concept B all the way.
Hey, Mayor, this is David again. Kelly, could you go back to concept B? Because that's a great question. I don't want anyone to have missed that and think that the memorial got squeezed away. In fact, we really think it'll be enhanced. Yeah, so there you go. It'll be enhanced. It'll actually be more visible because it'll be pushed up closer to.
Bingo.
Yeah. Now we do have the option of recreating it exactly as it is today and simply shifting it over. We just felt, for purposes of this conversation, saying, hey, look, there perhaps is a different way to lay that out, so it has kind of a timeline as you walk through there. But there's no hard design on that at this point. It's
no, Dave. I see him. I just didn't see him there in the original, in the first showing or viewing or whatever. They're there. That was my only concern. I'd say this here's a winner, buddy. This is a winner.
I just wanted to make sure, not only for council, but anyone that's listening, to, you know, because I know there's that sensitivity about the memorial from the past, that really the concept here is it's going to have, as Andy said, more visibility as it gets a little closer to Cooper Road. And, you know, if we're moving it, we ought to at least examine, is there a better way to configure it or not? We may ultimately not go that specific way, but just wanted to at least show another way. And the thought here is some sort of walking through the years, but certainly we're not locked or loaded on that. So,
and also, David, to your point there, just quick comment. The one nice thing is we should probably review this with the American Legion and get their feedback too, also, going forward. Okay, anyway, what I was getting ready also to say is that the play area over there by the promenade, you couldn't have put it at a better place. That is just absolutely perfect, because that's where the families sit and they can sit there and watch their kids play. That's good, very good. So I'm done.
Thanks, Joe. Nikki?
Well, this is very exciting to be thinking about all of these options. And I would agree that B definitely is the one that stands out. As much as I would love to see the library worked into this, I agree that it seems like we would be forcing that. And so that probably is not going to be a fit. But I do really like the opening up of the stage and giving more options and being able to utilize that a lot more. And I agree with Lee that we should probably run by the American Legion to make sure that they're happy with the changes with the memorial, but certainly it looks very attractive to me. One question I had was, are we envisioning like real turf grass here on these lawns, or is it, because people would be sitting on these for concerts and such, like a river bend? Just curious what.
Andy, do you want to go ahead and answer that?
Yeah, sure. So we get asked this question quite a bit, and there's a couple of things. One is money. A synthetic lawn runs about $17 a square foot, whereas a well-drained sod lawn runs about $4 a square foot. So that includes all the drainage, sub drainage that goes along with that. So it's well drained. So we typically end up doing the regular lawn. We may do synthetic lawn in certain areas where it makes sense. But the other thing we found is on hot days, the synthetic lawn actually gets fairly hot as well. What the natural turf does is it does cool the area, where sometimes the synthetic lawn, which the technologies for synthetic lawn are getting better, but I still don't think that they help cool the space like a natural lawn does.
Andy, what's your thoughts about synthetic for the dog park part of it? Is that a good idea or a bad idea?
Well, you just have to clean it. So there's the cleaning of the synthetic lawn. We usually see natural turf in those areas, but with two different spaces. So you get one space that's active while the other space is repairing itself. You kind of swap those back and forth. Probably wouldn't want to spend the money on a synthetic lawn, in my opinion. The high dollar to have to power spray.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it.
I think that answers, and I think I've expressed my thoughts. I'm definitely going to take some time to look over these options, after tonight's meeting. But very exciting. Again, probably not the library. That's a disappointment, but it seems like it would be trying to pound the square peg in the round hole. So, but very nice. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikki. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I liked a lot about A and B. A kind of just on a budget basis kind of reimagines the current layout, whereas B kind of then takes it to a kind of a different level beyond that, although it cost about twice as much. Option C is where it kind of started losing me a bit. I think you're trying to jam too much into one area. It's not a large area. You would also have some serious parking issues to deal with. So I kind of think it's either between A, B, or maybe a blend of the two. On the Veterans Memorial issue, I agree with much of what has been said before. I kind of have some concern that we might be downgrading it and reducing the scope of it. We would definitely want to make sure we talk to the affected groups there and make sure that this would actually be an upgrade, because governments often have quite a tendency to pitch something as an upgrade, and they believe it is an upgrade, but then nobody else does either. But nobody else believes it's an upgrade. So I'd want to start talking to people real quick and make sure that this would actually be an upgrade and not a downgrade. One question I have along that is, what about all of the bricks that are like particularly the ones with names? Is there enough space to keep all those bricks along the walking path that we see on our screens?
Yeah, I think we'll have to look into that. I think the reality is, I understand a lot of those bricks probably are degrading from the bottom anyway. So I think there may be a challenge to be thinking about keeping those bricks. We may need to, reissue. It may be an opportunity for us to even do some additional fundraising or something. But I think I understand from Gordon and Brian long term. That's an issue anyways, as those bricks degrade. So I think you can assume there's just going to have to be another way to look at that for now. But I don't think we've really addressed that beyond that.
What I'm talking about, though, are specifically the bricks that have the names of all these people who have served in prior wars or served in the military. Are we going to be able to move those bricks with those names on it all to the new place?
Yeah, that's the answer I just gave you. I understand what bricks you were talking about. I have 2 of them myself. As I was saying, that the condition of those bricks are such they were probably due for, many of them were due for replacement anyway. So I don't think you're talking about a direct replacement. There's going to have to be an alternative program for
that. Okay, and a couple other thoughts. I think we're going to have to look a lot more into that Veterans Memorial issue. It wasn't that many years ago that the last time we talked about doing something with that area, it completely blew up in council's face. And I'm not eager to instigate something like that again. Now, in general, I've already mentioned about making sure we get feedback from the veterans community and specifically, but even more broadly than that, I think just in general, whichever way we go, we need to make sure we're talking to the people who live in the area, to the businesses in the area, and to all interested parties very early, because there is a difference between. There's a couple of different ways that government often gets feedback on things. Sometimes a small number of people will craft a plan, put it out and say, here's the plan, and then do open forums and so forth. But it doesn't really give people an opportunity to weigh in and to help formulate the plan. But what I want to make sure we do on this one is start collecting feedback very early before we start deciding which direction we want this to go, and make sure that all of the affected stakeholders have a real opportunity to help craft what we do here. And then just my last comment is going to be on the idea that maybe a dog park can go there. I definitely would want to evaluate if that is in fact the best thing to put there, or if there is a better use of the very limited amount of space we have there. And especially since we already have a pretty big dog park at Summit Park. And then when you factor in the various challenges and detriments dog parks have and the limited amount of space in this area, I'm not sold yet that that is the best use of that space, and I'd definitely be interested in investigating that some more. So that's kind of my early feedback at this point.
Thank you. PJ.
Yes, looking at plan A, B, and C, the first thought I had was that why do we need to spend the money? But after looking at this new plans, A, B, and C, it makes a lot of sense. And it does enhance the downtown, which we are looking for, where people can sit down and have fun. They can have a lunch instead of simple concrete place where in the summer it gets hot, so people sitting in their chair. This is the original lawn we can provide, and people can play, people can sit down and have a picnic over there. That makes a lot of sense, and I really like plan A and B. But deciding points, I need to see more details on these plans, because on this, what I see right now, I cannot visualize exactly how it's going to look like. So just like Katie told, that I want to see some more in the printed so we can really see it, how it looks like. That's a number one. 2. And the third one, I was talking about that, say, if you go in a plan C and for the library, are we gonna replace the library from where it is to the park, number one? And if it is, then we using a lot of space, and we are just like putting so many things at one place. That's what I'm thinking. Answer me after just I finish about the library. And then another thing that, have you considered to increase the parking lot? Are we having the same parking like what we have? Like, I don't know how many parking we have, like a 20, 30, 40, how many parking we have? Can you consider a little bit more increasing the parking, not just a one platform, maybe two-story platform, where we can increase the parking? And I went to so many times to Sleepy Bee to eat, and I have never find the parking. Man, I have to go somewhere else, and they're losing a lot of business over there, not having a parking. So I want to put my 2 cents on increasing the parking lot. That might increase the cost, but I think that will serve the purpose for a lot of the restaurant over there and a lot of other activities that we're going to have. And the other one I have, it's a dog park. I agree with the similarly thoughts I had it, just like a Jeff had it, has it. And I'm really concerned whether we want to put a dog park over there or not. So I'm really concerned with that. And the fourth questions I have is that soldiers that we putting in a different form than what it is right now. Would it be possible to put in the same form? I'm just putting a thought for the MSK to think about it, that they incorporate or not, or something like that. Some people may just come out and say, hey, I do not like this format of putting all the soldiers in a one line instead of having a circle and the flag in the center. So that's my thought. But overall, as I said that before, I was thinking that, do we really need to spend this money? But looking after this, it really, really improved the downtown. And that's what everybody's looking for. And I think I'm for it. But I need to see more in the details. I need to see the printout, which is where and how it's working out. So that's my thoughts. And the library, if somebody can answer about that.
Thanks, BJ. Andy, did you want to answer any of those questions? You talked about parking. You talked about the library dog park.
Yeah, I'll just, on behalf of Andy, this is David again. I think all of those are just things that we can look at. Yes, parking's always a challenge in a downtown scenario. The more parking you give this, the less space there is for programming.
David, your voice going in and out, please.
Okay. So the issue of parking, I will, as I said before, we can continue looking at that. All these elements we can continue looking at. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, there is no final design to this, including PJ's question about the memorial. We have the opportunity to keep it exactly the same configuration. Just felt at this stage, there's no sense in penning yourself in and allowing yourself the ability to look at a couple. Parking, anytime you add more parking, you're taking away space from programming. And so those are just some of the trade-offs. But for tonight, I don't think we really need to get too worked up on any of those. Just take that feedback and contemplate it and think about it.
Thanks, Dave. Real quickly, I think option C, it just takes too much light, too much view. It's too tight for the space. I'm not in favor of, as much as I'd love the library to be there, I think we need more space to put it there. A and B, I both thought were lovely, especially the Grove, the promenade, the playground would be wonderful. Maybe a mixture of all. And I agree that before we go a whole lot further, we need to get together some of the veterans and start looking at, what their feelings are at making any changes. I think it might be a little difficult to get the veterans all on the same page and all agree to a particular design. But I think that sensitivity is more important than before we start going further outward of planning what we're going to build around wherever the memorial ends up being and in what iteration. So thank you very much. It looks beautiful. And it will be beautiful. And like I said, this is a nice project. We're not in a rush to do it tomorrow. We can take our time and figure out what's the best way functionally and aesthetically.
Yeah, so I want to I think your sentiment about we're in no rush, I want to reiterate, it's the same thing we've done very successfully in the past is lots of public engagement, lots of open houses. Summit Park went through quite a bit of a process. So anyone that would suggest that that isn't the case obviously hasn't paid much attention. That we, especially on something like this, we would really relish that opportunity. As I said, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge this summer from the traditional format because our ability to gather people is easily not going to be there, but there is no rush on this, so no one needs to worry about that. I want to, before we move to the next subject, I want to just provide an opportunity for the Parks and Rec Director, Brian Cruz, to add any concluding thoughts that he may have before we go to the next item under miscellaneous.
Thanks, David. I appreciate that. Great feedback. Appreciate all the great thoughts. Personally, for me, it's really nice to hear council bringing up the same questions and concerns that we talked about specifically amongst Gordon, David, myself, and Andy when we were working on the project. I share the same sensitivities about the memorial myself, and I'll trust and I can guarantee that there's going to be very good communication between us and our Veterans Committee and the Legion. Very specifically on that. We've got a great relationship with them, and I'm sure that we'll do that in a very classy way.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Mayor, as you know, next under miscellaneous is Gordon Perry is going to provide an update on the Roundabout project, and I think he has some slides on that also.
Great.
Hey, thank you. Just wanted to go ahead and give everybody an update. The last update I gave on this project, the Plainfield Road Roundabout project, was a couple months ago. So wanted to just update where we stand today and where we're going. So could you advance the next slide, please? Okay, so I just wanted to remind everybody the purpose and need of the project, why we're proceeding forward with it. We have basically two main objectives. There's multiple objectives, but the two main ones are to address the congestion issues we have along the corridor. And the corridor, I mean Plainfield and Hunt corridor, and also the safety issues. So the congestion basically begins from Peppermill and then goes all the way through the interchange at Cross County. And the safety issues continue. So this is one of our higher, it is actually the highest accidents we have in this entire corridor. And the primary culprit is, of course, Plainfield and Hunt intersection. But there are multiple accidents throughout, and it's generally based around the congestion that we have. So these issues go hand in hand. And so this is what we were awarded grant funding for. We have over $11 million from 3 different grant sources. And so this is the goals that we're shooting for. So advance the next slide, please. So the project benefits. So why are we doing what we're doing? So with the roundabout design, we're able to improve safety for both motorists and pedestrians. This includes new sidewalks. So we're going to be replacing sidewalks, the existing sidewalks, and adding new sidewalks. This is part of our connectivity plan, and we want to promote safe pedestrian crossings, improved street lighting, reduced vehicular speeds. So the speeds in the roundabouts generally are at 20 miles per hour and or less. And also they reduce conflict points for pedestrians and motorists. And that's every time that there's a potential collision or accident point. And then also with this goes with the reduced speeds is a significant reduction in injury crashes. So our studies and all of the studies are on our website. Everything that we've done from this project for the past several years is all there on the public works section under the roundabouts on the blueash.com website. We've been able to show that there will be a reduced amount of peak hour travel time and also reduced queue lengths at specific times during our peak rush hour. But this also offers us a great opportunity. So the opportunities we have is to create a city gateway, improve landscaping and aesthetics in this corridor. Next slide, please. So this is the current configuration. This is a 3D rendering of the project that we're working on. And this was produced by our consultants. It's also available on our website. But in the meantime, the past couple months, what we've been doing is we've met with some of the interested parties. We've met with the Kroger's Kohl's folks in a conference call with ODOT to discuss some of their concerns and the project as it relates to them. We've also had a meeting with Kroger and discussed a similar aspect of the project in relation to their site as well. ODOT at this point has approved the stage 2 drawing, stage 2 plans, our NEPA document, and the NEPA document is our environmental document, and they've also approved our right-of-way plans. So we're moving on to the stage 3 drawings, the plan set that will be used for our final construction project. And I want to go into next is some of the design concepts for the intersections and at the roundabouts. So please move forward to the next slide, please. So we've been working with Pod Design, and they're a landscape architect. We've worked with them recently on the Downtown Gateway project. They've done a great job for us down there, and we're very excited to work with them again on this project. And this will be done following up the roadway project. So once the roadway improvements have been completed, we will invest in upgrading the visual aesthetic of this project. So these are some concepts. These are not concepts. These are actual in-place constructed roundabouts. These ones are in South Bend, Indiana, Carmel, Indiana, and I think Fishers, Indiana as well. So you can see they use a wide variety of landscaping amenities, and we'll go through some of those concepts as we go through here. One of the things that on this page I think is of a pretty neat importance. This gives an opportunity for us to do something in regards to the gateway. So when you look at the upper right-hand roundabout, which says "Welcome to South Bend," we could do something similar to that. A pretty interesting gateway feature at Plainfield and Hunt would be a great location for that. Next slide, please. So some of the amenities that we can put into these roundabouts is hardscape details. The hardscape details could be pavers, boulders, and low retaining walls. Next slide, please. It can also include specialty features. It could be monuments.
There's echo.
I'm sorry?
It's a lot of echo coming.
Okay.
Because everybody needs to mute. That's, if they did that, we wouldn't have echo.
Exactly, right.
Okay. So I'll try to continue on here. So this has some ideas for monuments or other items that could be done in the central portion of the, and this could include, part of the entry feature, what we talked about here, about Plainfield and Hunt as far as gateway features. Next slide, please. The hardscapes, so if we do landscaping or things of that, amenities like that, we can soften them with landscaping. We can have landscaping that overhangs the walls and softens up that aesthetic, but also the interesting texture of some of the walls that we can include in the landscaping islands. Next slide, please. The planting schemes. So the planting schemes that we can offer, we can do a variety of things. What we're looking to do is keep it low maintenance, but we want to have a visual appeal with different colors and textures of some of the plantings. And that's, so there can be a wide variety, but a consistent theme throughout the corridor. Next slide. These next couple of slides are actually based on the topographic information from our design set. So this is actually a computer design, and it's made to look like a watercolor. So this is just a very preliminary rendering, and this is some of the options that we can be looking at here. So this is the Plainfield and Peppermill intersection. On the right-hand side of the picture is Reed Hartman. Where the white car is on the bottom of the screen is the Plainfield coming from UC Blue Ash. And then the roundabout is in the center there. So what you see is the retaining wall that's part of the project on the middle part of the left-hand. Next slide, please. This is another view, same. So this is looking at the Peppermill intersection. Peppermill, the white car is coming out of Peppermill in this rendering. The retaining wall where the car is shows potential for signage to the wall. The signage could be added for the Peppermill Farms subdivision, give a place and a gateway to their subdivision, and also can be accentuated with landscaping. So what some of the details we showed before with softening the wall with overhanging landscaping could be added to there. And then we can use consistent themes in the rock walls with the landscaping islands in the center of the roundabout, as well as on the southeast corner as well. So those landscaping elements with the low walls could be added and have consistent landscaping themes throughout the entire intersection. Next slide, please. And then this is our final rendering we have here. So this is just another view coming out of the Peppermill subdivision. And then in the center island, typically there's some engineering requirements which would require some height elements to try to prohibit the line of sight. So we do have some requirements we have to follow there, but just kind of wanted to go over and share with you some of the things that we're working on currently as we begin this process for design of the aesthetic quality of the corridor. So if you wouldn't mind, if you wanted to offer some feedback or suggestions of what you like, don't like, and anything, I'd be willing to entertain that.
Sorry.
We're doing this.
Maybe best would be, Mayor, would you like to?
Yeah, you probably just could run right down the list, and if anybody has anything to say, this would be a good time, and then we can circle back if there's more questions. PJ, you look like you wanted to say something first.
No, I just wanted to see out of these 3 circles that we're getting in, is there any way put a water fountain, just like downtown we have? That's all my question is. Is it possible? Is it inexpensive? Is it expensive? How is the maintenance things will be done or anything like that? Can you enlighten a little bit on that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that does get time to time. We would probably not want to have water features in the center of the roundabout, and that's primarily because when I was in Westchester, we actually had a water fountain in the roundabout, and we had issues with water blowing out into the roadway.
Yes.
It kind of created an issue. So we probably would steer clear of that.
Okay, makes sense.
Is that all, PJ?
Yes.
Jeff, you got
Thank
anything
you.
you want to add?
Yeah, so then at this point, are we really just talking about what we've just been presented so far tonight, or are we eventually talking more about like the larger issues of the project?
This is my update. You can have any questions you want, but I was just sharing with you the update on the landscaping design.
Okay, then I'll just start with that issue then. I mean, as far as the portion of it where the road is almost being painted like a watermark, my initial thought on it is that it's very distracting. And when we're talking about the issues of people learning how to navigate roundabouts, I feel like the last thing we need at the last thing we would want for people as they're entering a roundabout is to get distracted by something like that. And I'm especially thinking if it's raining outside and someone is relatively new to the area, they're going to worry that they're driving right into a flood. So I really think we need to reconsider that aspect of this. I'm just not sure that this is helping things at all.
Jeff, this is just a rendering. It wouldn't look like a watercolor. It'd be just traditional asphalt and concrete. This is just a concept design.
Okay. Yeah, that was my only thought on the specific portions of what's been presented to us so far. So then if there were more questions, because we've gotten you all know that we've gotten a lot of comments over the past few days on the project at large. So, I mean, would you want to take those questions now, or were we going to get to those at some other point?
Are you talking about questions that were brought up in the letters that the residents turned in that are on the website? Correct, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm kind of getting to that point. If we wanted to ask questions about, much more than just what's been presented here, and then have a discussion about the project at large. I mean, were we planning to do that tonight, or was that going to be at the next meeting? Basically, I mean, I'm willing to do whatever the plan is. But
I think if you have questions, now would be a great time.
All right, yeah, I'll just let me ask two questions then. Because what I tried to do is take in all the comments I've seen and read the studies on the website and so forth. So my first question here, and I think it's just one that needs to get asked because it is on a lot of people's minds. We've gotten a lot of comments from people who live near the Peppermill area near that roundabout, that they're just not big fans of what we have on the plate so far. So then the question I would want to ask is, let's suppose for a second that the current plan we have, which is to do a roundabout there, went away and we had to go with the next best alternative. So what would be the next best alternative if we didn't do a roundabout there? And then in what ways would that alternative be better and worse than our current plan?
So this plan was developed over several years. So the alternative plans were brought to council several years ago. And this one was the best over addressing all of the safety concerns and traffic congestion. So when you say go back to something, this would be a redesign of the project.
So like, would that mean then if we said, like if ODOT came down tomorrow and said, we've changed our mind on the benefits of roundabouts and we don't want one there, so then would a traffic light remain then at that intersection if we didn't do a roundabout, maybe just some upgrades without a roundabout?
So we have done upgrades over the years. Basically we're at max timing for our traffic signals. They're maxed out in the current capacity. Basically, if you don't do something different than what we already have, we are not going to see a appreciable difference. We designed this as an entire corridor, so it all works in conjunction with each other. And so if you're talking about a change in the plan or the concept, you'd have to go back and redesign how all that would work together.
Okay, and then my second question on this, which is kind of related to the first one, but again, I want to make sure that all the people who've contacted us can get some of their questions answered, is what are the specific, so if we're just focusing on the roundabout at the Peppermill area, just that one, what are the improvements and detriments that the studies show will occur by changing this from a traffic light to a roundabout?
Well, the improvements are a decrease in traffic congestion, a decrease in traffic speed as far as this is a transition zone. So we're going from 40 miles per hour to 25. Anybody who's familiar with that area, cars are not slowing down to 25.
Yeah, you kind of look like his screen is frozen.
Yeah, I got Gordon frozen also on mine.
Oh boy, that wasn't the plan.
Maybe he's there. He is. You back, Gordon?
Sorry. So the roundabout will increase the traffic capacity at the intersection, and that's one of the main benefits of using a roundabout. So the downside is one of the main things is, and which some of the residents has pointed to that point, northbound traffic in the morning could have a slighter higher queue, which is the distance the cars will back up. But it's shown that it goes away faster with a roundabout than any other design. So it's a minor issue, but the overall improvement. So we go by what's called level of service. So the level of service will improve greatly using the roundabouts versus any type of traditional intersection. And our reports, if you read through the reports, it shows what they call LOS, which is a level of service. And the level of service for the roundabouts was by far the best improvement that we came up with when we looked at all the different options. It was by far the best improvement, not only decreasing traffic congestion, reducing speeds where we want them reduced, and also improving safety, not only safety for vehicular accidents, but also safety for pedestrians as well.
Okay, that was my last question.
Thanks, Jeff. Joe, what do you have to say?
Wonderful presentation there, Gordon. There's been a lot of questions answered, and I'm sure we'll figure out what kind of decorations to put in there as time goes by, but good presentation. Thank you.
Nikki?
Well, seeing this rendering here, Gordon, I do much better with a visual, so I particularly appreciate this, and seeing what could be for a newly designed entrance into Peppermill, and just being able to actually see it. It looks very nice. It really is very attractive, and I appreciate all your work and your patience and explaining so that we can all wrap our mind around what drove this decision, and so I appreciate that. That's all I have.
Thanks. Katie?
So I first want to just say that I want to acknowledge all the Peppermill residents and folks who've submitted comments, taken the time to express concerns, and just making sure that they know that their comments aren't going unheard, that at least I can speak for myself, taking them into consideration, reading them, and understand that where they're coming from, and that they do have the right and to express their concerns. So I just want to acknowledge that first, to say that we're not ignoring them. Then on to kind of the concepts that you've shown. So my strong preference would be towards natural vegetation as much as possible. I really like, similar to the picture you're showing now with hardscaping, but putting in more native vegetation, natural vegetation for pollinators, and not really a fan of some of the more, the bigger artwork pieces and trying to put those in. I think they could be distracting in a roundabout, but enhancing the area with more of that natural vegetation, I think would make it a lot more beautiful of a space. And those are all my comments.
Thank you, Katie. Lee, do you have anything you want to ask?
Overall, I think Gordon's done a nice job of the overall big picture here. Similar to Katie's comments, yeah, I kind of question the artwork kind of sculpture thing. I think those do kind of become distractions, and that's what we don't want for this project is distractions. As far as the gateway there going into Peppermill, I think that's attractive, can be done. Yeah, I can see more pines or something like that. But this is a concept. I understand that. And I also appreciate, again, I like what Nikki said, I appreciate the comments that we got from the Peppermill residents. I did have the benefit of meeting with a handful of them there to get their feedback. I think we're heading in the right direction. So thank you, Gordon.
Thanks, Lee. And I just want everybody to remember the intention of this project is to increase safety, decrease congestion, and decrease pollution. It's not to make anybody upset. I think this can be done beautifully. But I had two particular questions that Gordon and I have talked about quite a few times, but I just did want to bring them to the forefront. And that is the two things that people are concerned the most about are safety and cut-throughs. And Gordon, will you fill everybody in on the pedestrian activated crossing lights, as well as markers, lane markers, signs that would have kind of a Peppermill Farms only idea where people wouldn't get the idea that there's any reason for them to go into into the subdivision?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're working on, we've received a lot of comments during the comment period from residents who do walk a lot, which we're happy to hear that. There's different uses, obviously. And one of the things that the comments that we had was residents wanted to see more of the type of rapid flash beacons that we have. We have them several places throughout the city, some on Hunt Road, some on Kenwood, and on Plainfield up near Carpenter's Run. So that's been a very successful program that we've installed, those warning devices, and those will be incorporated into the project at the crosswalks as an additional safety measure for the residents. They will be push button activated, so anybody who wanted to use them could use them. And then the other issue that we're working on, and it's important to us to make sure that people understand that this is a subdivision, and that's why we're creating the trying to beautify the entry feature here and make it a very very beautiful for the residents, and also for people to see that is a residential neighborhood. So I think that we're on the path to do a really cool design, and I think we can make a really beautiful amenity out of this project. And I think it'll really be a great project all around.
Thank you. I don't have everybody on my screen. I wanted to know if anybody else had any more comments. Raise your hand and we'll call on you. If not, is everybody done with what they wanted to say or ask? It looks like it. So at this point, we're going to move into executive session.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry, David. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even go through miscellaneous business, did I?
Yeah, you jumped ahead a little bit.
Sorry.
I do have a couple other just minor things. I do want to add, I think Gordon touched on it, but I want to make sure it doesn't get missed. In addition to Gordon wanting to make sure that Peppermill and Plainfield Road intersection is enhanced and looks good. We've also started just looking at the other intersection off of Hunt. Don't know whether that's a possibility, but we'll be reaching out and trying to see if there's a way to help enhance that end of the neighborhood too, to kind of, again, just make sure that neighborhood continues to feel like a separate place as it is today. So that's where that is. So I want to finish with just a comment on the pandemic. And where we are at that, as you can imagine, the city operations have been dramatically different over the last few weeks, almost a month now. And we are now in the stage where we've kind of settled in. Things are becoming a little more routine. We've done a lot of operational changes, staggering our shifts, separating employees in terms of social distancing in how they operate in the city. As you can imagine, a lot of our operations are not things that you can do from home. You can't fix the streets and can't patrol, and you can't go to a fire remotely and work from home. So just keep a lot of our employees in mind that they are still working, and they have been working throughout this as essential workers. But the next phase, as the greater community starts to open back up, I just wanted to make all of you aware that we continue to look at how and what changes to our operations we would need. And so we've got an internal task force looking at some of those things. And you can imagine when we get to the point where we can open the rec center, it's probably going to be different than it was before. What sort of protocol are we going to have in place? What sort of employee safety measures are going to be there? Same thing with Cooper Creek. When we get to the point where that's open back up, what will we be doing differently than today? So I just wanted all of you to know that that is an ongoing process. We're working through that. And we'll certainly communicate the specificity of those when that time arises. So not much to add on that. The other thing, Mayor, I did ask our other senior staff to be here, even though many of them did not have a subject tonight. Obviously, Gordon and Brian both had a subject, so they were here to give this presentation. But I wanted to, if you could, just give all of them a quick moment to say hi and wave to you, as well as a very brief update on how things are going in their department, in addition to Gordon and Brian again. Before then, you go around the council with miscellaneous. So appreciate that.
Yeah, I had everybody on here. I just, it's a little bulky. This format's a little interesting, and I'm not looking at your faces around the room, and I just skipped the whole step. So, Kelly, anything that you want to?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I will say community and economic development are moving along. We're performing most of our functions, though we've gone to a contactless system. Council has done such a remarkable job in their Zoom meetings that Planning Commission will be trying their hand at Zoom and YouTube on May 7th. So we'll have another meeting in this format. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Chief Peters, you around? I see.
I'm here. Thank you very much, Mayor. So our staff is actually doing very well. We've been staying very, very healthy, and that's been a good thing for our department. A few things I wanted to thank council for as a few items. One is many of you have reached out to us regarding donation of protective equipment. That's been very helpful. Some of you have dropped off food for the crews. They've been very appreciative of that. And then just the general well wishes I think you've sent to our department has been well received, and wanted to thank you all for that.
Thank you. Chief Knoll.
Just real quick, I'll echo Chris's sentiments. I appreciate everybody that's reached out to us, and the cooperative effort between the departments and the sharing of equipment, and just making sure that each one of our departments has what we need, and that tax and finance have protective equipment and everything is just, it's been a testament to the way this group works. The way the police department's operated over the last 30 days is dramatically different than traditional police work, but at some point we'll get back to the new normal, but we're still providing all the services that we have, and even probably more so. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Thanks, Chief. Brian, Rec Department, Brian.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I'll echo Chief Knoll, hit the nail on the head. I feel specifically within admin or senior staff, it's been almost like I'm a glasses half full type person, but it's almost been like a team building opportunity for us. And the way the department's been working together really well. It's a new critical thinking type project every single day. And I think for us on the Parks and Rec side of things, that's helped keep morale very high. Folks are still in really good spirits and all is well. In fact, like David started talking about a little bit, we've been working now in the past week or two, especially with some of the foreshadowing that the governor's been giving us on a little bit more of a back to work type plan and what it's going to take to get the recreation center back open and what it's going to look like, how it's going to function. And so it's not necessarily that we've made decisions and dates on when those things are going to take place. Obviously, we'll take the lead of the stay-at-home orders and how that kind of unfolds. But more so, we've got plan A, B, C, and D already together. So I think our staff has done a really nice job creatively thinking about how that works and how we can do it safely and make people feel comfortable when they're back in our spaces. And then just one other thing, switching subjects a little bit. It's never fun to cancel events and programming, but in lieu of parade and the Memorial Day ceremony, we are very proud to be putting together a new project that we're going to launch on Memorial Day. It is a video dedication to the sentiment of what the day means to us in the city of Blue Ash. So, Mark, I know that you may or may not have already been reached out to about that project, but what we're going to be doing is putting together basically a virtual video, a virtual ceremony, and we'll launch it at 11 o'clock on Memorial Day. And we're working very close with a lot of our veterans here in the city of Blue Ash, the Legion, Veterans Day, Veterans Committee, both the police department and the fire department. I think it's going to be a really special project that once again we can all be proud of. So looking forward to that. That's it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Sherry, anything? Anything going on in the finance department?
Hello, no, not much of anything at all. Our staffing situation is pretty similar to Kelly's. We have a couple of shifts within tax and finance. As you all know, the tax office is closed to the public right now. But we did get the state did extend the tax filing date, which of course we're adhering to. I believe that's 7/15 or July 15th is the new tax filing day. And hopefully by soon we can get the doors back open and we can help taxpayers with their tax returns. And I hope everybody's feeling well and all family members are great.
Thank you, Sherry. Julie, anything?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. I just have one small item. We received a communication from the City of Montgomery. They are still planning for their Independence Day parade on Saturday, July 4th this year. So if Council participate this year, I'll be happy to submit that application on your behalf.
Great, thank you. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. It's if everybody feels comfortable being outside and socially distanced from each other. I'm in. Jamie, I didn't call on you yet, did I?
No, but I don't have anything tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel's not here. Councilor Pacheco.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to remind council or inform them if they haven't heard yet that last week we filed an appeal in the Ohio Supreme Court of the pipeline. We also filed a motion to stay any further construction of the pipeline. So that matter is now pending and we will brief it in accordance with the court's rules and we will see what happened and obviously keep you up to date. I would also wish all of you happiness and health in this time. And I also want to echo what a lot of other folks have said, that the team here that you have is amazing and they have performed admirably during this time. And I'm glad to be a part of it. Thanks.
Thanks, Counselor. So I think we've got everybody except for Council. Lee, I'll go to you first.
Just want to say thank you to Kelly, David, and Rachel on working on the annual report. Nice job. Again, if you want to know anything about A to Z about the city, it is in there. So nice job on that. Again, I applaud all of administration's efforts during this pandemic We've been flexible, and we are going with whatever's coming down the pike at us, and it's appreciated. And to our residents, we just got to be patient until we get through this, and we will get through it. And like anything else, a big thank you, Chris and Scott, about the birthday parties throughout the city for the kids. I've gotten lots of compliments. It is very much appreciated. Definitely, again, thinking out of the box during this crisis, and it is appreciated. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Nikki.
Well, Lee just said some of my thoughts exactly. Just very proud of how we are getting creative, reaching out to the community. I've been following on social media, Facebook, and seeing the police department and the fire department and the parade. And Ken Ridge Drive was one of my former neighborhoods that I lived in, and it really makes you smile. And we could all use that right now with everything that's going on. So I just want to thank everybody in the administration and all the adjustments they've made, and keeping a positive attitude and rolling with it, and just wishing everyone good health and safety. So just appreciate everybody.
Thank you, Nikki. Joe.
Now, I would just echo, okay. I'll echo what Nikki and Lee said about the parades and everything. That is a really big hit. Thank you, fellas, and everybody that's organized that together. I'd also like to welcome all 18 participants to my home office, and hi to my mom and my sister. And with that, Mr. Mayor, that's it.
Thank you, Joe. Katie.
Yeah, just, really glad to hear all the positive comments from administration and everybody working so well together. It's really good to hear that. So keep it short and sweet, and just hope that everybody stays healthy and stays in good spirits. I know it's hard to keep that morale up and stay positive when this is going on so long, out of our normal routine. So
thanks. Jeff?
Yeah, just I want to thank our first responders, all of our city employees, and all of the employees in the city of Blue Ash for everything they've done the past few weeks to keep our society safe, functional, and well-fed. And then a couple of council issues I wanted to raise is, first, regarding the impact of all this on the budget. I'm going to both suggest and request that at the next meeting, we get an update as to what is happening there. We've seen some other local governments, they're looking at 20% revenue reductions over the next year. And I bet you we're going to be even higher than that, because when you look at us as a city of 12,000 residents and 40,000 plus employees, that means there's a lot of people who under normal times are coming into the city, working, leaving us earnings tax, and then going home. But that's not happening right now. So it's not just the people who are laid off that we're not getting the earnings tax revenue from, but people who are normally, who are at least often working in here, but now they're not working in the city. Even in spite of whatever the legislation that was recently passed said, we're not going to see a lot of that money. And it's not just something that's going to happen over the next few months, because if there's one thing, if you study the economy, it's when workers get a perk, they tend to want to keep it. And so we have a lot of people now who are used to reporting into the office every day, who are now working from home. Now, some of them are going to say, I don't want to be around my 5 kids all day. I can't wait to get back to the office. But there's going to be a lot of other people who say, you know what, I like working from home, and I want to start doing this a whole lot more often. So that's just, we've got to look both short-term and long-term. And I hope perhaps by the next meeting, we'll have some more figures in and can really start looking at how many millions of dollars we're going to be down this year, and even start thinking about long-term trends as well. And then the second council issue I wanted to raise is, this is now the second meeting that we've had to do remotely, where we have streamed the meeting, and then after the last one, it was posted to the city website. We've talked for a number of years now about offering this service on a full-time basis whether we have a coronavirus or not. And one of the big questions that some people had is, well, are citizens interested in it? So 2 days after the last meeting, I went to the City of Blue Ash's YouTube page to try to gauge how much interest we did get at the last meeting. Now, mind you, last meeting was simply a work session with one topic on the agenda. It was hardly the most exciting council meeting in the history of Blue Ash. 2 days after the last meeting, the YouTube page the posting of the meeting to the YouTube page had 120 views. Now, of course, Kelly's going to remind us that maybe 30 of those were hers, but even if you back that out, that's still significantly more people were able to see our last council meeting than we're used to when we only meet live and do not stream the meeting. So then I compared that to how did those 120 views compare to other videos posted on the City of Blue Ash's YouTube page. The next most recent item was a story about the Blue Ash Police and Fire doing their parades to wish kids a happy birthday. That got coverage across the tri-state. That had 106 views, and it was posted for a week. And then the third and the fourth videos that were posted on the City of Blue Ash's YouTube page, which were posted 1 month prior to that point, were both about the roundabouts issue, the roundabout issues. And as we know, roundabouts have drawn more interest to us than almost any other issue we've dealt with in the past several years. And so these two videos, which had been posted for a month at that point, had 100 views and 86 views. So, those were those other three videos, the police and fire parades and the roundabouts, were pretty widely covered issues, which and they got between 86 and 106 views, whereas our single topic work session council meeting got 120 views. And what that shows is there is clear interest from Blue Ash citizens to being able to follow our meetings, whether they're in person or whether they're at home. And I hope that we're going to keep that in mind in the future. At an upcoming meeting, I am going to bring back my motion to offer that service on a permanent basis. I hope, so lastly, I'll hope that we also post this meeting, and I'll be interested to see how many eyeballs we got on it. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to say one thing. I'm looking at that right now, and Jeff, we have 11 viewers.
That's going to show you how many viewers are looking at us at this second. One of
Correct.
the benefits of the policy that I've suggested is that when you post the meeting to the website, that allows other people to come back and view it at their pleasure. Not everybody has to view our meeting right now. If they want to view it later tonight, they want to view it Friday, they want to view it Sunday, they want to view it 2 weeks from now, that's great.
Okay, very good. Let's move on. PJ.
Hi, everybody. First thing that I like to say about our administration, it's a commendable job they're doing it. And the second thing, that the new trend we started about the celebrating somebody's children's birthday. And one day I came home and then all police car was lined up nearby my house and I got scared. I was going home and he says, what happened here? He says, oh, nothing happened here. It's just a birthday. But that's a very nice gesture that we have provided to our constituents. So that's a one good thing that we have. And the comment where we are doing it, that viewers we're talking about, that 120 viewers were there. Out of 120, 90 was just about from my Peppermill Lane, because they want to know everything what's going on there. So I just, maybe it's incidents or maybe there are more people watching, but I just wanted to let you know my point of view on that things. That's about it. I don't have anything else, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
I just have a couple things. I wanted to remind, because we brought the subject up, that every meeting has been recorded for several years and they're available on the website in an audio version. So it's not that we don't record the meetings, they're just not video. I want to thank everybody for their patience. These meetings are bulky. Kelly and IT have done an absolutely phenomenal job. I've watched some other city council meetings through Zoom and video, and ours have been working out, even with me skipping steps, better than almost anything I've seen on the web. So thank you for your hard work and making this really easy on the rest of us. COVID, I just want everybody to keep your guard up. It's really nasty, and I've run into quite a few people who haven't known anybody who's had a case that put them in the hospital or kept them home miserable for weeks and weeks. And I'm finding there are still some people that do not believe it. I've known 2 people that have passed away through the grapevine. They were elderly and they had some other issues, but they were going through their life and living on their own until they got hit with this virus, and we need to keep our guard up. We got an award, which nobody mentioned. The city of Blue Ash just got an award for being the #1 municipality in 48 municipalities in the region for diverting waste to landfills. And that's just a testament to planning from city administration and all the public departments over the last several years. And I think that we should be really proud about that. Last, thanks to not only the first responders, because I always thank them, but thanks to all the essential employees that are keeping the city running and keeping all the services that are necessary going on unstopped and unfettered. Can't thank everybody enough. So now we're going to move into executive session. And the reason we're moving in there is for property acquisition, to consider the purpose of property for public purposes or for the sale of property at competitive bidding. If premature disclosure of information would give an unfair, competitive, or bargaining advantage to a person whose personal, private interest is adverse to the general public interest. Jamie, you'll need to do a roll call for this.
We need a motion and a second first, please.
How about we get a motion to move into executive session?
I make a motion.
And a
Oops, I was
second?
muted.
Second.
Now you can call the roll.
Councilman Capel,
Yes.
Councilman Leet,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Javari,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilwoman Yasvik Schweeder,
Yes.
Councilman Zerwanka,
Yes.
Mayor Mark Cirkin,
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, so Kelly, we need to call one another.